So crazy shit. I was recording for like 10 minutes, and my mic dead ass wasn't on. I was tight. I was like, yo, ain't no way. So this is what happens when I try to record more than one video in a day. Whenever I'm like, oh yeah, nah, I'm gonna knock out mad content. It's the same shit. I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't do something or whatever. Like, y'all sick, but like whatever. So short version of it is we having a full conversation about how nuts this week has been, and that we dead ass having a conversation about people was dead ass wilding with Cardi dropping her joint. Um, like I said, I've been enjoying the body of work. I go to the gym and shit. Like I'm in the grocery stores and whatnot. Like I'm playing M out of drama. I'm going on my drives or whatever. I'm playing M out of drama. And since then, JT has come out with a diss track. It's all this back and forth on Instagram and all this other stuff, Instagram, Twitter, and whatnot. It's a bunch of snippets. I'm actually gonna go full circle and have a conversation with y'all about Nicki Minaj and potential episodes of what I would categorize as proof of persecutory and religious delusion. So I guess a quick synopsis of it is like when she's having all of these conversations about like being a prophet and getting all of this stuff from God and knowing all of these things from Jesus and whatnot, and the devil is coming back to collect and all this other stuff, like that is a common delusion in schizophrenia and bipolar when they are showing signs of mania. Persecutory delusion or the constant iterations of sabotage or extreme cases of paranoia. Like you're coming up with um, scenarios in which that people are coming after you or doing something to you is that's another symptom of bipolar disorder and episodes of mania. And then come to find out that mania can be triggered by jealousy. Still wildest stuff. So I definitely went into a rabbit hole, started reading about that, and found somebody else to talk about it in this process too. But we're gonna save that for another video. What I'm here for today is to talk specifically about the JT disc and essentially what we should expect from Bia, right? So again, Cardi called Bia to the front, and that whole shit with Bia, like that whole dynamic, it really doesn't make sense to me. But apparently, a couple women got around Nicki Minaj and they, got her side of the story and they have a perception that Cardi is some sort of villain in all of this, right? And they're responding to that, leaning into the loyalty and that sort of thing. And it's creating this whole web of anti Cardi kind of thing going on. It's very, again, very, very interesting space. I went ahead and I listened to Cardi was on Jay Shetty joint today, and I listened to it, the On Purpose podcast, and she talked about having to constantly prove herself. Right when she first signed her deal, there was this belief that her popularity was just on Instagram, and she essentially had to build a portfolio that showed them her numbers. And so this is where she learned her earliest business strategies of making her case, like a proposal. A business proposal looks like this, where you say, this is what I have the capacity to do. This is what my numbers looks like. This is what I've done in past. This is what turns up. This is what's this. This is what's that. And Cardi recurringly is underestimated, and not just by the people on the outside, but the people that represent her, because she is explaining that the label didn't have her back. And even when she talks about the numbers that they projected her to do, they said like, yo, she was gonna do like 115 based on how imaginary players did. Um, and outside, they was like, yeah, she'll probably bring in about 115. She sold 200. So she has been back against the wall. And I think that this is an important piece of understanding the significance or the importance of a brand that is associated with a particular star. Now, let's get into this JT disc. So JT went ahead and had a whole bunch of conversation about a bunch of different stuff. And I made a few points because I'm not going to remember all of the different pieces of it. I'm going to be very clear. Like, I'm not necessarily a JT fan. I know that when she went through the city Cinderella phase, I had kind of started to root for her because I realized that she had gotten attached to Nikki and that Nikki kind of abandoned her, and I thought that shit was kind of foul. And I'm like, oh shit, like she finding out the hard way that Nikki is in it for self, and that persecutory delusion is not discriminate, right? So if Nikki looks at you a certain way and feels like you trying to come after her, she'll cut you off. If she feels like you doing too much and you use, and that's something that comes with the mental health condition, right? But they don't know that, they don't realize that. They see her and her external presence, right? And they look at what's happening with her superficially, and they determine that that's the depth or the explanation of that person. But it puts them in a place to be up against what they don't know, which is the depth of Nikki, which is that she might actually have this mental health condition and she may abandon you one day because a part of bipolar condition, schizophrenia, is not trusting people. But we'll save that again for another day. We'll unpack that Nikki conversation later. Um, but going back to the diss and expecting Bia to say something. So I will say that I want to give Bia credit specifically for the fact that she didn't jump in the haste in the back and forth on Instagram and whatnot. And I'm really like, good job. Like, she was like, you don't know 5 songs, you're gonna know 16 pretty soon. And I think that that's the right thing to do, because deep down there's eyes on it based on the fact that Cardi just had this album roll out, all of this stuff came up. And then even with the drama that rolled out, I think that there's gonna be enough of us that are at least curious about what Bia is gonna say, that it might give her the opportunity to be on display. And it's marketing. And I think that, and I hope that she doesn't do what JT did. And this is going back to that brand and not compromising the brand. Like, honestly, with the JT disc, I think one of the things that she didn't get quite right is knowing her audience, right? When you are a female rapper, you are making rap for females. So one of the things that's not going to land well is the realization that you might actually be a hater. There was way too many references throughout that song where I looked at the phone, right? And I'm like, are you mad about this? Like, there's way too many instances where I looked at the phone and she's like talking about like, oh, your nigga, what she said, like, he sucked dick after games. And so also my brothers were athletes, right? And that's a very common thing that people say. It's a sensational conversation. Oh, athletes are gay. Like, that's a regular like throw around kind of statement. I'm over it. I've heard it way too many times. It's not funny. It doesn't land special or anything like that. But again, to each their own. Some people will think it's funny, some people not so much. I think with that being said, calling an athlete gay is, that's what people do, right? Like, it's like, okay. Um, the other thing that she had a tendency to do, speaking of the guys that Cardi has been with, right? Her ex-husband and her children's father, excuse me, Offset, right? So the whole thing about paying for the crib and like him having bitches come and fuck in the crib and all this other stuff, yeah, that's not a diss for Cardi. That's a representation of Offset being a piece of shit. And this is where I say again, like, you don't know your audience, because weaponizing a woman's abuse or mistreatment or dude taking advantage of her, that's never going to land like as positive as you think it is. Like, I'm sitting here saying to myself, like, there's no way that she thought that this was a good idea, because like, let me not say we've all, because that's not everybody's story. Too many of us have experienced a dude doing us dirty for you to make that the woman's fault. It gives very pick me kind of like, oh, you a stupid bitch. Like, and it's like, yeah, I hear you, but that was her husband who's not letting her leave because he don't want her in nobody else's face. And he's still trying to take money from her. Right? Like, so all of that weird energy, like, um, calling Cardi ugly. Outside of the fact that ugly is subjective, we're gonna say that. Like, everybody's not gonna agree with you, shorty. That's one. Two, your before and after pictures are on the internet too, right? And it just puts you in a position for people to dog walk you for certain things. So you're talking about the BBL, you're talking about but you have used your flex was is like you had your kid, you got your tits off kid credit. Like, it's that kind of stuff. It goes into that, like, so now you're a hypocrite. Like, it's very weird. And I think that again, you dissociate, or you think that just going into the booth and just throwing shots at somebody is always going to land as just throwing shots. That's not how diss tracks work. Diss tracks don't work with you just punching at somebody for no ass reason. And weaponizing a woman's abuse never lands good, right? Like, it doesn't help with your female market, right? Um, as a quick sidebar, there should be SWOT analysis done on, female rappers and then just rappers in general, like a person as a brand. Like, you should be doing SWOT analysis. Like, what's your strengths? What's your weaknesses? Where are your opportunities? Where are your threats? Because I think that that would help, which is also part of the reason why I think that that diss track went up on DSPs and then got pulled down, because it was not helping or adding value to the brand. Um, Another contradiction on the track, saying that you don't care about the white people stuff and then say I pull Prada out the closet to give a look. That's weird, bro. That's weird. Saying she looked like a tarot card reader at the Met. Like, I wanted to laugh, but I'm like, you said that at the Met Gala. And I'm like, sis, were you ever going to make it to the Met Gala? Like, because at that point it was like you're making the reference to her Met Gala looks, and it's like, but you don't like her. I don't know if you actually went to the Met Gala. So that means you went and looked up her looks and you saw her trending and you kept tabs on her trend. That's weird, bro. You reference WAP, even though we've come to understand that you were originally supposed to be on it and then you were upset about not being in the music video and not being on the song no more. That's weird. Calling her a flop, delusional. Saying she don't write, and we watch all of your bitches, all of you bitches in this rap industry, son. We watch all of y'all writing credits, right? Like, and I know I'm gonna piss people off. I'm gonna take this opportunity to upset people. Pink Friday, the original album, was a label concept. This is not something that Nick came up with by herself. They were very intentional. She was built up, she was framed, it was organized, it was put together. She is not a brand that was built as by herself. It's just not what it is. Please stop making this reference about this fucking writing shit, because it's exhausting now. It's exhausting. And especially because y'all are saying that like y'all are not bitches that freestyle either. So that's another thing that I don't understand. It's not like y'all are Meg and Lotto and I believe Doechii. I think Meg, Lotto, Doechii, and I think Doja are the only people in the female rap space that like off the dome put a beat on, like got raps, got freestyles, like at the radio, sitting at the table, off the head. Which I talking about pens. Anybody could take a minute to go fucking write a poetry that go on top of a beat. But that's fine. That's fine. This other comment, your man suck dick, but you stand with the gays, while Uzi is wearing a dress, calls himself Leslie, and loves Dominican women, right? Like, this whole shit, that whole shit is cringe, right? And I think that you kind of missed where you were contradicting yourself like the whole time. And then like there was a space where you're talking about like Steph Mugg is better than Cardi's, and then it's like, are you a person that hangs out with people? Because I don't see JT as a person that like sits by herself per se. Like, and I could be out of pocket when I say that, right? She's always been affiliated or associated with somebody else, right? And I'm like, are you only with people that you think you better than? Because that would be weird. And I still don't understand what happened with you and Cardi, and that's fine. But the weird part about caping for Nicki, like really like, oh, Nick has X, Y, and Z. That stuff is that was a bad look. Like, jumping out the window for somebody, and again, just realizing that Nick could really be struggling with extreme cases of paranoia. Like, she really could be just making this stuff up and telling you a really good story. And that's the tough part about mental health conditions. Like, most people do not understand that mental health conditions do not automatically mean cognitive declination. It does not mean that the person is not smart. And it's hard to know the difference between somebody that's mentally unwell and they're completely fine if they're really intelligent, like, or if they have enough sense to just put a statement together, or if you just idolize them enough, right? I think that people have been so fixated on Nikki just being a gorgeous woman and being attractive that they kind of discounted the fact that, like, oh, her attitude kind of sucks, because this happens all the time. Like, if you look a certain way, if you act a certain way, like certain things, it's that pretty privilege thing that people be talking about. Like, certain things get pushed aside on the basis that you have an exterior that people adorn. So there's that thing. And again, it made me think about the fact that, like, when Nick and Meg was going back and forth, JT kind of did jump out and was like, yo, Nikki is this, Nikki is that. And it was like, damn, you really didn't jump out and say nothing to Meg. Like, and so that was like, I guess, we pick our fights, and we know which ones to jump in and which ones not to jump in. And I think that that's what made this altogether more corny, right? When everybody jumped out the window, like, this is what Drake thought he actually looked like in that back and forth. But what y'all like pulled off or was trying to do with Cardi was more of like, damn, this is kind of wild. Like, yo, y'all jumping out the window and was really using like her momentum for press, for recognition, for song opportunities. And again, like, there was so many instances where you like, oh, I stand with the gays, right? And I was like, oh, you was really trying to rally up like a hate train in that moment. But I think that you missed that all of the people that would have consumed your music saw that, recognized it, and really wasn't jacking it. But I think it's important for women in rap, female rappers, to recognize that the brand is equally important. All of that to say, I really hope that Bia, like, don't come on no tracks saying the shit that we've been heard, right? If you come on here talking about you write your own shit, oh, a bitch you don't write. If you come on there talking about a bitch is ugly, if you come on there talking about a bitch is pregnant by a multimillionaire athlete, like, just please just come up with something else. Just come up with anything else. We've heard it already. We're done. The general public has spoken. We don't care. We like Cardi's music. Whoever the fuck, if you could buy a writer, go and fucking buy one. And that's for all the writers. Like Ice Spice, respectfully, I'm sorry, this is not nice, but just honestly, like Ice Spice, go buy a writer. Go buy a writer. Go and buy a writer so that you can have the 200K song, right? Like, just help me. Like, if it was that easy, why isn't everybody doing it? So with that being said, like, you'll know your audience. You could, and it's not to say that Bia don't deserve to bust a couple bucks at Cardi, but please don't go down this rabbit hole of talking about Stefan's sexuality, of talking about if she used her pen, or talking about like even the surgery and all of y'all got surgery. Like, all of this stuff is weird. Like, it's strange because it's like all of y'all did it. I wish I could say that I understand it and that it was landing on something valuable, but it's like, how many ways are we gonna? Y'all been making this claim about Cardi not writing about changing her face and all this. Y'all been saying this shit since 2020. From 2020 to 2025, it did not stop her from going to 200K. Like, I'm gonna say that again. Y'all been saying this shit about the pen, about writing, and if you count Nicki been using that same fucking shit since what 2019. This shit, it has not worked, bro. It doesn't work. It has not worked. It's just anything else. Please, there's a song called "Just Say Anything Else." You'll say anything else. But genuinely, if Cardi not really out here violating y'all for real, yo, drop this whole beef shit and stop jumping out the window for Nicki, because Nick is not okay, bro. And now it's starting to just look, it's making y'all look weird. So yeah, you know what? I'm packing this up. We'll come back and talk about Nick and, and her delusions, potential delusions. But yeah, I'll catch y'all.